Social insanity. Transgender boys offended by urinals. Yes, today is August 25, 2021. Social insanity. What is a transgender boy? Do you need help? I need help with that. This is the trusty CDC telling us a transgender man is a person assigned female at birth and identifies as a male. Female at birth. Not. I gotta call foul on this. A person assigned female at birth. Assigned. Doctors look at babies' parts and say, scientifically, this is a male, this is a female. 99.9% of the time you can tell by looking. 99.9%. That small case is a huge exception and really doesn't come into play in regards to transgenderism. But a transgender man is a person who is born female or assigned, as the CDC says, and now identifies as a male. So there's a high school, actually there's a whole school district in Virginia that has decided to take the urinals out of the boys' bathrooms because transgender boys in the school district are offended by the urinals. Before we get into the article and the details, let me encourage you to go to btwnnews.com and subscribe to the newsletter by putting your email address in that top yellow bar. Check out all the other information there. Register for the Builders Summit. Early bird registration ends September 15th. And if you appreciate what I'm doing here, consider supporting our ministry, clicking that right there. And if you would like to get all of the YouTube videos free of ads before they drop here on YouTube, become a patron of any amount. If you want to give a one-time gift, you can do via PayPal, or you may send a check. Thank you so much to everyone who does that. This is the county public schools in Virginia. Loudoun, Loudoun, Loudoun County Public Schools. Great website. Pretty snazzy. But these are the folks that have adopted transgender guidelines for their school policies and school board and teachers. This is where they're located, northwest of Washington, D.C. That's where they're located. Here's the main article that was written at ifapray.org, Intercessory for America, written by Dave Cabal. The urinals are coming down, and in this article, you may read it. It is in the description of this video. He gives details about how this school district will be, or has, removed urinals from the boys' bathrooms. Not only did they do that, but they have removed boys and girls, or women and men, from the description of each restroom. I don't know how they have renamed it, but they've removed that signage, and now, because transgender boys, that is biological girls, who are now entering into the boys' bathroom, they're actually offended at the presence of urinals. So they've decided to take them down. Here is the policy. The right of transgender and gender expansive students. This is what is driving this school district, this policy here. Students' identification, names, and pronouns. I'm going to read this paragraph right here. See if I can zoom in a little bit on that. I cannot, but let me just read it for you. The school district staff shall allow gender expansive or transgender students to use their chosen name and gender pronouns that reflect their gender identity without any substantiating evidence. Without any evidence. They can just decide any day for no reason or give any reason for their new pronoun and gender, regardless of the name and gender recorded in the student's permanent educational record. School staff shall, at the request of a student or parent legal guardian, when using a name or pronoun to address the student, use the name and pronoun that correspond with their gender identity. There are other aspects of the rights of gender and gender expansive students, but this is what's driving this school district. That document right there, again, linked in the description. Actually, it's a link within the article that will be in the description of this video. In America, the CDC, trusty CDC, you gotta trust the CDC. They say that there are nearly 1 million people identifying as transgender in the United States. 1 million. Do you know what percentage that is? That's 0.3% of people in America. And because 0.3% in America are confused or have gender dysphoria, schools are making policies based on that. 0.3%. There are people who have body dysphoria. I always refer to this whenever I talk about transgenderism. There are people who have body dysphoria. There are people that aren't comfortable with their ears. They're not comfortable with their left arm or their right foot or their fingers or their pinky or their thumb, and they want it cut off. You know what we do with those people? We help them. We counsel them. We do everything we can to encourage them not to cut those parts off. But it's oh so different when a person is transgender or they're confused. They have the same body dysphoria, dysfunction in regards to their gender. It's very sad. Back to the terminology. I want to go through this terminology. A transgender is a person whose gender identity or expression is different from their sex assigned at birth. Their sex assigned at birth. Again, science dictates or has always dictated what you're assigned. You're assigned male because you have male parts. You're assigned female because God made you with female parts. Transgender man is a person assigned female at birth and identifies as male. A transgender woman is a person assigned male at birth and identifies as a female. A cisgender, here's one that caught me off guard. All of a sudden, people were saying, I'm cisgender, I'm a cis male, I'm a cis female. What does that mean? That's a person whose sex assigned at birth is the same as their gender identity or expression. So it's a person who logically identifies as what they were born. And now, instead of myself calling myself a male, if I'm going to be culturally plugged into what's popular today, I would have to say I'm a cis male because I was assigned male at birth and I identify as a male. Gender expression is a person's outward presentation of their gender, for example, how they act or dress. But gender identity is a person's internal understanding of their own gender. So they could gender identify as a female and actually be a biological male, but at the same time present themselves as a female. Not funny. Not funny. I'm sorry. It's not funny. This is, how did I define it? This is social insanity. This is anti-God. This is, a perversion. This is a rejection of what God says in Genesis chapter 1. Male, female created he, them, male, female. And that's a good thing. That's God's design. And this is a rebellion against God's design. Another article at the Christian Post will be linked in the description of this video. Why a Virginia middle school is removing urinals from the boys' bathrooms. And let me just ask you this. Well, let me just suggest this. If you're going to take the urinals out of the boys' bathrooms, you've got a lot of extra urinals. Where are you going to put them? I suggest you take your urinals and put them in the what used to be the women's bathroom, because to make the transgender women, did I say that right? People who are born male, biologically male, who identify as female, I suggest that this school district take those urinals, if they're going to remove them, put them in the women's bathroom for those biological men who now identify as women, because they're going to need them. That's my suggestion. If you do a search on Google, or I did it on DuckDuckGo, for this public school district and click on news, you will find some good news. Teachers ask court to stop from enforcing transgender rules. They're also struggling with critical race theory, struggling against critical race theory, and also attorneys for teachers against the county schools transgender policy file to halt enforcement during litigation. Actually, I think today was the first day of school, or a couple days ago, maybe Monday. Monday was the first day of school. So pray for them. Pray for them. God's judgment is great on America, and social insanity has been the result of God just, giving up. He didn't give up. This has been his plan all along. But as he has been interacting with us and his judgment, he has allowed the people of America to just have social insanity. And this is what we are seeing. Transgender boys offended by urinals, this small, quote-unquote, oppressed people group. Now, let me ask you this question. What if you are a biological male who's now offended that you've removed the urinals? What then? Well, you know what? It really wouldn't matter, would it? Because the only people, when they are offended, the only people who we are to cater to are those who are in oppressed groups, like people of the LGBTQ community, black folks, and other folks, okay? And a white male, biological male, who identifies as a male, it's not important that if he's offended. But let me ask you this. What if there's a black middle school student who identifies as a male who is offended because the urinals are gone? What do we do then? What do we do then? What if I'm offended because you're offended? Nobody cares. That's social insanity. And it has to eventually just implode on itself, because at some point, anybody, well, maybe this is the problem. Nobody is thinking logically, but at some point, people are going to come to the conclusion that, wait a minute. Where do we draw the line? Because everybody's offended at something. And if we cater to everyone who's offended, then we're just in a big old pickle, because you can't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. And here's what we've done in America. We've rejected Scripture as the authority of right and wrong, and now we come up to our own conclusions. which many times is against Scripture and ends up with complete chaos and sinfulness, social insanity. Thanks for watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video. Become a patron and see this without ads and before it drops on YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And until next video, my prayer is that God would bless each and every one of you. See ya.